Hello everyone, welcome to Cribwolf Talks. My name is Lino, Fera, the host of Cribwolf Talks. For those tuning in for the first time, the Intentional Community Consortium, the ICC, held a housing conference with various members of our federal government in our nation's capital, Ottawa, Canada, on March 2024. The Cribwolf Talks production team captured the entire two-day ICC housing conference on video for our viewing audience. The ICC housing conference was initiated with a purpose of collaboration with members of Parliament, senators, and ICC members to discuss the housing shortage with reference to the National Housing Strategy. In a prior episode, Cribwolf Talks showcased the ICC. The ICC was created to effect change by applying shared learning and networking from member organizations, advocacy, partnerships, and member engagements, with the express purpose of building more affordable housing projects with mixed use. On today's episode, we have three individuals who presented at the ICC Housing Conference. Our first presenter is Gary Gladstone, who chaired the ICC Housing Conference. Gary is the director and chair of the Intentional Community Consortium, known as the ICC. He is also lead stakeholder relations at Reena and a principal of Gladstone Consulting. Gary is also chair of the Government Relations Committee of OASIS and a recent recipient of the Order of Vaughan and the Queen's Platinum and Diamond Jubilee Awards. Gary Gladstone's presentation on the history and purpose of the ICC provided our audience with a deeper understanding of our quest for more affordable and deeply affordable supportive housing for persons with diverse abilities. The next to speak was Dr. Claudine Cousins, a scholar with extensive academic training, a practitioner, and a community changemaker. Dr. Cousins has over 25 years of leadership experience with various ministries within the Ontario Public Service and the not-for-profit sector. Dr. Cousins is also a local advocate for equity, diversity, and inclusion. Dr. Cousins represented OASIS as vice chair and spoke as the CEO of Empower Simcoe, a not-for-profit agency servicing persons with diverse abilities. Our final presenter in this episode is Lidia, Monaco. Ms. Monaco has a Master's of Audit Education, a Bachelor of Arts degree in Psychology, and holds a certificate Teacher of Adults. Ms. Monaco is CEO of Springboard, a not-for-profit organization based in Toronto, whose mission is to build stronger communities by helping at-risk and vulnerable youth and adults in their lives with a focus on community justice, employment, and developmental disability services.
Welcome, one and all. First thing I'd like to do before we really get started is recognize that we're on the land of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation, and to pay special heed as we're looking for housing, to increase housing for those with developmental disabilities, to remember that there's a severe housing crisis almost everywhere across the country, particularly in Indigenous communities. And I do a fair bit of work, some of you may know, with Ogima Wabatong Kenora Chiefs Advisory and Grand Council Treaty 3, who wish to help and to build specific housing for those in their communities that require for developmental disabilities, but their core housing need is so great that they're not at that stage yet. So we will work with everybody to get everybody up that stage to ensure that there's enough housing everywhere for everyone. So thank you. So we have a rather full day on the agenda with lots of speakers from all the political parties, and Jeffrey Tessier from CMHC as well, and words from our sponsors throughout the day. But before we get there, excuse me, I just want to introduce the head table, missing a few who are currently at the press conference. So the Intentional Community Consortium executive, which we'll go through on one of the slides, but I'll quickly introduce David Petko from Caris, who's the Vice President, and the Secretary-Treasurer, Patricia Franks from CAFE, who, trust me, those who know me well will know it's impossible to keep me online. She's perfect, absolutely wonderful in every way, shape, and form, and keeps the consortium running smoothly. Finding solutions to the affordable housing crisis faced by individuals with developmental disabilities, focusing on housing, support services, and community support. That is everything that the ICC is all about and what we're here to help all the organizations. Of course, to become a member of the Intentional Community Consortium is merely to say we're here to help. Share learnings, share knowledge, share advocacy, share what works and what doesn't work, so we can all do much better together. The agenda, as you have at your place, when it comes time to have sessions with the parliamentarians, we will have, the ICC will be moderating. We've asked all the parliamentarians to speak for a few minutes and then give lots of time for question and answers. Founded in 2017, very excited just before last year's Day on the Hill. We incorporated as a not-for-profit, currently at 34 members. And there's our mission. Affect change is the bottom line. Affect change by applying shared learning and networking from our member organizations. Let's face it, individually, we don't know it all, but collectively we do. And it's not easy building. It's not easy working with cities, with bylaws, with zoning, with the works, but together we can all make it happen, sharing each other's expertise. Working with CMHC is an absolute pleasure, but those of you who have completed more than one CMHC application may realize it's a little bit cumbersome, but we have the expertise and we're connected appropriately to get everyone the appropriate help that they need when and if they decide to build, what funding programs are available, etc. So, as I said, we're up to 34 members spanning Ontario, but we need and want to go national. So everybody here who has a friend dealing with individuals with developmental disabilities outside of Ontario who builds or is interested in building housing, we want to talk to them. We want to connect. Please let me know. Brian and I and Anne Bilodeau, who you can see is not on one of these chairs here because she's at a press conference, and also Lino Fera, who's at the far seat, he's also at the press conference now. Some of us were recently at the CMHC National Housing Conference, and we made some wonderful connections with people, so we hope to be expanding the membership. There's the officers again. So what do we want? What do we need? Well, to the federal government, thank you very much. National Housing Strategy released in 2017, at least 2,400 units for those with developmental disabilities. Just before the announcement, myself, David, and another member were at the housing conference in BC. And my question to them was, I'm going to the media briefing in the morning when they're releasing the National Housing Strategy. How excited do I get? And we decided, okay, if they mention developmental disabilities, we're happy. Well, first we went a step further. We knew it was coming up. If they mention individuals with disabilities, they listened. If they mention individuals with developmental disabilities as a targeted vulnerable community because of all the special needs, not only did they listen, they understood. And then if they put a concrete number of anything beside it more than one, I just jumped for the sky because there was a metric that we could go against. And believe me, I did jump to the sky when I saw the bottom of page 10, how beautiful that was. But in looking at the numbers now, we have a long way to go. I think it's at 847 units have been built so far. Of the 2,400, no, what's the number, Brian?
No, 847.
Okay, right.
Approved.
Right, so 847 approved, and as of September 2023, and we have a feeling that, for instance, I'll just pick on Reena's Lou Fruitman Reena residence, that not every resident in the building has a developmental disability, But as that's what the majority have, I believe they've counted all those units. Anyways, we got work to do, guys. We also want to make sure that housing is a human right, which has been an ongoing conversation at CMHC lately. Federal investments through a co-investment fund have to reflect updated costs. Particularly since the end of the pandemic, costs have been shooting up like crazy. And unfortunately, there has not always been enough money through the co-investment fund to take care of that. And establish a dedicated pathway for deeply affordable and supportive housing like the ICC. We are here, the board works at the corner of their desk to make the ICC work appropriately. We are blessed to have incredible sponsors for today's event from Reena, Community Living Toronto, OASIS, the Provincial Network, KW Habilitation, Caris Disability Services, formerly Christian Horizons, Empower Simcoe, and the Canadian Caregiver Centre of Excellence. So we need, we don't have a budget. Expenses are covered from the conference and from Reena, and so thank you very much, Brian. And we're looking at having sessions later on in the year that maybe generate some revenue. Provincially, although we're dealing here federally, I just want to raise the issue. So right now, the National Housing Strategy funds go down to the province, and then when the province sends the money down to the municipalities, there are no quote-unquote strings attached to any of the funds. So there are some municipalities that have been extremely progressive, extremely helpful, and extremely supportive. From Reena's and my perspective, I'll pick on the City of Toronto for a moment, who when Reena was looking at the Frankfurt Family Reena residence to build on Elmridge, we got a call from the city. RHI 3 from CMHC is on the way. Why don't we submit your application as one of the projects? And I know that Hamilton and Ottawa have also been helpful. A number of others, Kitchener-Waterloo as well, so we hope good things come there. Then there are other municipalities, now I'll pick on wonderful York Region, who when asked to participate in exactly the same program that Toronto did, their comment was, well, the individuals that you support require the supports of daily living. And my response was, yeah, so we got those funds from MCCSS. We're not asking you for those funds. Individuals live in your community. 90% are on ODSP, living below the poverty line, unemployed. They need your help with rent supplements, affordable housing, etc., much as any other citizen in York Region. Sorry, too bad, so sad, we can't help you. So what we've gone to the province, and as I look around the room, I know a number of agencies have been advocating with us, and thank you, to say, as the funds from the National Housing Strategy go down to the municipalities, 10% of those funds should be allocated to assist those with developmental disabilities, whether it's from capital, whether it's from rent subsidies, whether it's from renovations, anything and everything we need. Budget's coming out next week. Who knows? We only hope. And also, the big thing is to partner with local agencies to make sure that the province is always there for us. At the municipal level, well, let's get comments like York Region out of the picture so we never have to worry about them again, and ensure that all municipalities are working with us, for us, and by us. Also, zoning is becoming more of an issue, particularly with B3 care occupancy. And I believe when Brian Keshen is speaking from Reena, he'll be mentioning that and highlighting that. But people are getting kicked out of suitable accommodations because of the places where they're living are not built to care occupancy standards, and there's issues with egress, according to the fire department. So this year, thanks to Patricia, decided it might be good to have some pre-planted questions. So we did a survey, and Matthew, I think you're outside, thank you, and Sandra also outside for all the organizing work. We sent out to everyone here a list of questions to find out which ones we were most interested in, and all of the speakers today have been handed these questions. They may address them in their opening remarks. They're also on the sheets, tables in front of you. Feel free to ask. Feel free to find out where each of the parties stands, because we have to hold everybody to account. As you heard yesterday in the reception, what we talk about ends up on the floor of the House because the MPs listen. And they need to take care of us, and that's why we're here, to make sure they're aware. So I'd mentioned earlier there's a press conference that's happening at 10 o'clock with Anne Bilodeau, Lino, Fera, and some supported individuals. We'll be speaking to the media, broadcast live on CPAC, and who knows, we'll pick it up. I saw mention of the press conference this morning in Hill Times, and again, it just brings a bit more profile to that which we're doing. And people had some very interesting questions that they wrote in. Things that obviously not everyone knows everything. Creative partnerships and joint ownership from CMHC. A big one that every so often comes up is registered disability savings plans for down payments. The same way there's a first-time homebuyers plan with the RRSPs. Why can't we do something with our DSPs for the individuals we support? We also want to know if the various parties will fund a sector-led incubator and system development entity like us. I'll go farther and say us. Will there be investment in strengthening supplements, grants, and new supportive funding for deeply affordable housing? Again, the taps run dry, but do they have to? And can we ensure that CMHC has enough money to assist? And the federal budget comes up on April the 16th. We look forward to some wonderful stuff as well.
So as many of you know, OASIS was founded with a vision to bring together agencies and organizations dedicated to supporting individuals with developmental disabilities across Ontario. And since it's been around since 1996, with just 6 members, it has expanded greatly to over 200 members currently. Our mission, as always, is to advocate, educate, and provide services and resources, not services, we don't do services, that's you, resources to address pressing needs of individuals with developmental disabilities and their families. And today, we are all here to help shed light on one of the most critical issues, not just facing the developmental services sector, but all of us, because my son tells me all the time, I can't move out. Unfortunately, that is a true thing. And so as you will hear in great detail, and as we've been hearing yesterday and today, that from not only the representatives of many of the agencies and organizations here, that the housing issue is not only at a breaking point, I think we've tipped over. Over 18,000 individuals with developmental disabilities languish on our wait lists, and I have families calling me, calling you. We've heard from our self-advocates here today about the issue of housing, and we heard from Brian about the 40-year wait of our children to get into housing, and it's estimated that 18 to 30% of individuals utilizing shelters may have some form of undiagnosed developmental disabilities. And that compounds the issue of that we're talking about. Now, for myself at Empower Simcoe, this is something that we witness firsthand every day. So just some specifics that I can put into context for us here from an Empower Simcoe. We're located in Simcoe County in Barrie in Aurelia. And no glasses, I gotta come close. So Empower Simcoe, like many other agencies, has witnessed firsthand the devastating effects of the housing shortage. We currently have over 10 individuals in our supported living program who have needs that have far exceeded those supports and need to be moved into another housing support. So we are looking at building. So we have building. I've picked Brian's brains many times. So like Brian, we are building a complex care home. We've built a clinical transitional home. We're now building our second complex care home. And like Larsh, I was so glad to see your example. We are doing the same thing with the city of Barrie. So I look forward to talking to you about that. So there's so much that we are looking at. We're also the housing provider within Simcoe County. So we look at housing subsidies. We look at all of those things and we advocate. And we also do that for people with and without disabilities in Simcoe County. So we have the ability through the municipality to do housing subsidies. So how can we do that on behalf of the people we support as well? So we're looking at how we bring all those pieces together to address the housing shortages within Simcoe County. So this all, like so many other examples across the province, leaves families struggling. We've heard from one of our family members here, individuals being left without proper care and support. But OASIS remains committed to continuing to raise this topic. We've conducted surveys and we've launched reports, and we continue to do this to not only elevate and inform you, but also elevate and inform this information and push it out into the environment for our MPs and MPPs and our municipalities. So we recently completed two reports that shed light not only on some of the barriers to building housing, but also the readiness of developmental services to address housing needs. The first report was on municipal zoning bylaws across the province. So when we talked about zoning and when David talked about the zoning B3, to me, the B3 issue is not only a barrier, it's discrimination. Truly, we need to call it what it is. It's discrimination. And I think we now need to turn our minds to how do we take this up under human rights as discrimination on behalf of the people we support. Because if you had someone living at home with you and you had to evacuate them, would they say, do you have a B3 rated home? I don't think so. So I think we need to call it what it is and push it out there. So we also have a report that found the key issues including urban-rural disparities, inclusivity, proximity, and density restrictions, differences in occupational occupancy limits, dwelling, I could go on and on. So the report calls for planning direction for municipalities from the province of Ontario, regional official plans, and local official plans. Currently, these plans do not adequately consider the needs of those with developmental disabilities. We launched the report with a webinar in February, which included presentations from municipal zoning experts. The second report, which hasn't been fully released yet, assessed the developmental services preparedness for building new housing. The report is based on the results of a targeted survey that was sent in the OASIS membership. So I'm not going to keep going on. All I have to say is that, OASIS is aware that there are certain things that are written in policy that we're facing and certain things that are ingrained in the way the policymakers have pushed out into our communities that we have accepted, and we can't continue to accept them. We have to push back if we hope to see any change. So from the work that we do, we have to do it together, and we can see that the ICC's already started to push forward, and the only thing we can do is to continue to join hands with the ICC and push back. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
In our 50th year. We are a multi-service organization, and we have services for people with developmental disabilities, group homes, community programs, employment programs. We have youth and adult justice and a digital learning hub. So just to give you a sense of who we are, we're trying to redevelop one of our sites on College and Rush Home, sort of west end of Toronto, where we used to have some offices and some programming we have the drawings, we have the architects, we've been working with consultants. We got the Open Door Award from the city. We got some seed funding. We applied for RHI, was not successful. And just to let you know, we've taken a couple of years to get to this point because the board was quite risk averse, and they didn't want to get into the business of housing and housing development. And we just think it's so important to get in there as nonprofits to provide affordable, supportive housing is absolutely necessary. Our project on College is small. It's 13 individual units and with some community space as well. And we're just trying to get to the next level now. So the board has agreed to go to the next level, that C column, to get some site plans and permits and going to that level. But I'm just weary now because if we don't have that contribution, that equity contribution, how do we get to that next level without, we also applied to, I think it was TD for $1 million for housing, and we were not successful. We are applying for now, not the co-investment fund, what did they rename it? Affordable Housing Fund. So we are going to be applying for that and starting to think about a capital campaign, but we don't have the backers or the donors like Reena, that and Community Living, who would have that kind of support. So any advice would be most helpful at this point. So we're almost there, and it's just so exciting, but we want to get to the finish line.
I trust our viewers found watching Gary Gladstone, Dr. Claudine Cousins, and Lidia Monaco present their message at the ICC Housing Conference informative. We will continue with more videos in the ICC Housing Conference on upcoming episodes, which will include additional ICC members and MPs sharing their comments and concerns on the issues related to the lack of affordable housing for persons with diverse abilities. Thank you for tuning in today, and please keep watching our program. I'm Lino Fera. Have a great day.